Hello there, I'm going to show you how to make this fabric organizer. I have over 500 YouTube tutorials on my channel, so don't forget to subscribe. So let's go through everything that we're going to need to do this hanging basket organizer. So I'm going to use 2.5-inch squares of scrap fabric. Now these 2.5 squares, each side equals 30 of them, so you're going to need a total of 60 of these squares. Now if you don't want to do it out of scrap fabric and you just want to do it out of your regular fabric, then it's going to be 10 inches in height by 12 inches in width. I think the hanger is going to be a personal preference, but I have done mine 2.5 inches by 19. Also inside of it, I am going to put a heavy weight fusible woven interfacing on the basket. On one side it's sticky, on the other side it isn't. There's going to be a glossy side where it's going to be a sticky side. Like I said, you're going to need 30 2.5-inch squares for each side, so 60 in total. So that means you're going to have 6 going one way and 5 going down the other way. And we're going to join these together just like we do our quilting blocks. You're going to take it row by row. This row, this row, this row, this row, and then this row. And then you're going to individually sew them right sides together. So you're going to take your fabrics and you're going to place them right sides together and you're going to join them at 1/4 inch. And you're going to do that for each of the rows. I use a Baby Lock Soprano for all of my sewing tutorials. I'm not paid nor sponsored by any company to make this video. In the top of my thread, I have a regular white polyester thread, Gutermann, and in my bobbin I have a white thread, and in my sewing needle I always use a 9014 Microtech sewing needle. These are the settings that I currently use on my machine for doing this particular project, and I am also a Baby Lock educator. With my Baby Lock sewing machine, I have the 1/4 inch foot width guide in place. Helps to get that perfect 1/4 inch every time. We're going to get our sections, we're going to place them right sides together, place them in the sewing machine, and stitch along 1/4 inch. Now, before you start sewing these into rows, I would recommend that you press them. Now you're going to start sewing your rows together. So the first one will go with this one, and then this one will go with this one, and you're just going to sew them all together. The next thing I'm going to do once I've pressed this down is that I'm going to adhere my fusible woven interface into the back of my patchwork piece. This is going to give it some extra stability, and then when I cut the next part it's going to be much easier for me because it's all going to be stuck to the back of this. If you have any fusible just showing through, just cut it off to match what we have got here. Take a pen, a friction pen that I'm using, and mark out 2.5 inches on the bottom edge of the external fabric. Do this on both sides. I'm going to find my 2.5 markings. There we go. You're going to do this both at the same time, so you've got both the front and the back. You are going to clip these into place, and then you're going to cut these boxes out. Get your internal sections to do exactly the same thing, marking 2.5 inches at the bottom of the fabric. That's the inside lining done. Let's get the bag hanger made. You strip of fabric, fold in half and press. This creates your center line. Open it up, then fold the first part in and press. What's left to do is fold that in half, and then we're concealing all of the raw edges. Take this over to the sewing machine and sew. Maybe too long for where you want to hang it, but you can adjust that when we start sewing. Let's start with the inside lining, and we are going to mark a 3-inch opening right at the bottom of the bag. Now you're going to sew from here and down. You're going to sew here, 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 and here. Don't sew the squares just yet. Get your external fabric section. You're going to sew all the way down here, all the way across, all the way down, but not the 2 squares. So now that's all done, we can now work on the squares. So these are the seams here, both here, and then you're going to open this up, and then this middle section here is going to open up, and the 2 seams are going to join together, and everyone is going to lay nice and flat. You get your seams open, underclip, and sew this down. That's what it's going to look like once it's done. You're going to turn it around, match them seams up, put some pins in or some underclips, and stitch this into place. I'm going to do the same thing with the lining section. Open it up, match the seams, and sew into place. Now you're going to open this right sides out. It's always right sides facing whenever you're making something. And then you're going to take the external part of your organizer, and now you're going to match up your seams with the other seams. You're going to match up the internal side seams with your external side seams, and you are going to lay your seams flat and underclip all the way around. So now I'm going to attach the hanger, and I'm not going to do it from a seam, I'm going to do it from one of these bits here. Now I'm going to find the center by folding in the 2 seam sections and find the center here. I'm going to take this one clip out. So it was basically near where that marking was. Put it back in place. So there's the center. I'm going to take my hanger. Now, if this is too long for where you want to place it, then that's fine. Just measure out how long you would like it to be, and make sure that the hanger isn't twisted. So I'm going to have it about there. And don't forget, you're going to have to leave about 1/4 of an inch for sewing. It's always better to have a little bit just poking out, really. So you're going to make sure that it's not twisted, and then you're going to unclip that. That was about the center. And I'm just going to place at either side of that center. Oh, I need an extra hand. That's going to stay. I'm going to grip that one and just leave a little bit coming out. Take a peek inside again and just check that that handle is not twisted. And then once you are satisfied, you can sew all the way along the top of your basket. And here we go. Now we are going to use that hole that we left, pull everything out so it looks like that, and then you are going to pull the external fabric all the way through this hole. This is why you needed like a bigger hole so you're not struggling really. Then use that inside hole just to push everything out, especially these corners of the box. Then it's going to look a little bit like this. You're just going to push this all down into place. And then it's up to you. You can leave this showing so it looks a little bit like a lining, or you can push it down and make everything flush so there's absolutely no lining showing. I actually like this, so I am going to top stitch this all the way around so it stays down. And also with your hanger, because it's lying flat right now, lift that up and sew this down along with the stitches that you are doing with your lining. Whenever I'm doing a project like this, I'll always slip this off. Slides right off, And then you can get your basket in much better. Put that under there. Get this started. And there you go, one fabric basket organizer ready to go.